Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we are looking at something truly fascinating. We're going to take an ancient parable, this one is straight from Osho's 1001 Tales, and we're just going to sit with it, really sit with it, break it down, and see what it reveals about how we live today. We'll be focusing on the legendary 19th century Urdu poet, Mirza Ghalib. But hey, this isn't just some dry history lesson. It's a story with what is literally the sharpest, driest punchline you will ever hear, and it's followed by a question that might just leave you feeling, well, a little bit beautifully uncomfortable.
So let's dive right into it. I want you to really think about this for a second. When you walk into a networking event, or a party, or just a room full of people you have never met, what is the very first thing you want them to know about you? Like, what's that specific title, or achievement, or connection that you kind of subtly drop into the conversation so people know you matter? Come on, we all do it. We all have that one thing we desperately want others to notice just so we can feel validated and respected in a new space.
And that brings us to the core metaphor of our explainer today. We are calling it the coat. Now, the coat represents any external label, credential, or achievement that we wear to define ourselves to the outside world. You know, it's not who you are, it's what you wrap yourself up in so you're perceived in a certain way. This whole concept sets up the absolute perfect foundation for a really brilliant, incredibly dry, comedic story about a man who just flat out refused to wear a coat that wasn't his.
Okay, so the story centers on Mirza Ghalib. He was arguably the greatest Urdu poet who ever lived. The guy was fiercely independent, just a man of profound self-possession. Anyway, one day he gets an invitation to a massive royal banquet. Now his friends take one look at his ordinary, slightly worn-out clothes, and they practically beg him to borrow something finer, something a little more, fitting for a royal court. But Ghalib, he absolutely refuses. He essentially tells them, look, I have lived on my own feet. And he decides he's going to attend this magnificent, opulent royal banquet exactly as he is, in his own regular clothes.
And what happens next really highlights the sheer absurdity of human behavior. On his first attempt, Ghalib walks right up to the palace gates in his everyday clothes. The royal doorman looks him up and down, literally laughs in his face, and turns him away. I mean, the greatest poet of his generation rejected at the door. So Ghalib goes back. He finally caves and borrows the expensive, luxurious clothes his friends were pushing on him. He returns to the palace, and wouldn't you know it, that exact same doorman sees the rich fabric, immediately bows in deep respect, and just waves him right through. Inside, he is seated right next to the emperor. The only thing that changed was the fabric draped over his shoulders.
So, picture this. Here is Ghalib, now seated in the place of highest honor, right next to the emperor himself. The royal feast kicks off. Course after course of incredible, mouth-watering food is brought out. But Ghalib, he doesn't take a single bite. Instead, he does something so extraordinary, so bizarre, and honestly, absolutely hilarious. He picks up a piece of food and he rubs it directly onto the sleeve of his borrowed coat. He takes a spoonful of rich curry and just feeds it to his lapel. He is literally feeding every single item of his clothing and eating absolutely nothing himself. The entire hall goes dead quiet. Everyone is just staring. Finally, the bewildered emperor simply cannot take it anymore and demands to know what on earth Ghalib is doing.
And Ghalib looks at him, completely deadpan, and says, "The coat was allowed in. I am merely accompanying it. The food belongs to the coat, not to me."
That punchline is just brilliant, isn't it? But as the laughter kind of fades away here, we're left with something much heavier. We really have to shift gears from this dry comedy to a quiet, almost devastating observation made by Osho when he analyzed this tale. He points out a really stark reality of human existence. No one recognizes souls. Only the clothes are recognized. When that doorman bowed, he wasn't bowing to Ghalib's genius, or his character, or his spirit. No, he was bowing to the velvet and the silk. And honestly, sitting with the discomfort of that truth is exactly what we need to unpack today.
Because this illustrates exactly what happens in almost every single human interaction we have today. We judge, and we are judged, entirely by the coat. Think about your modern coats for a second. The university degree framed on your wall, the income bracket, the fancy job title you drop at dinner parties, the make of the car sitting in your driveway, the zip code you live in, your meticulously curated LinkedIn profile. How quickly do we resort to these external metrics? We immediately ask, what do you do? Where do you live? Who do you know? We're constantly doing this quick math on each other based on nothing but the wardrobe of modern success. I know I've caught myself dropping a title or a credential just to see the reaction. And if I'm being completely honest with you, there's a real discomfort in realizing just how much I actually enjoy it when people bow to my labels.
So, let's break this down even further. The story actually operates on two very distinct psychological layers. Layer one is that obvious reality we just talked about, how others see us through our coat. We have all experienced that, right? We've all been in a situation where we were treated differently, maybe better, maybe worse, purely because of a title, a credential, or a connection. But layer 2? That is the much harder, much deeper question. If the world only sees our coat, do we even see ourselves beyond it? It really begs the question. Have we so thoroughly identified with our labels that we've completely forgotten there is actually someone wearing them? I want you to imagine, just for a second, stripping away every single title you hold. Remove your job, your financial status, your degrees, your entire social media presence. If you take all of those labels off, what is underneath? For a lot of us, there's this slight creeping anxiety in not really knowing what's actually there without all that stuff. We've worn the coat for so long, we genuinely think we are the coat.
And that brings us to the crucial point about where Mirza Ghalib's true power actually lay in this story. See, he wasn't acting out as some rebel or a trickster just playing a prank on the emperor. Not at all. His power came from absolute, unshakable self-possession. The teaching here isn't some superficial, oh, just don't care what other people think advice. It is way deeper than that. The teaching is to know yourself so completely, so intimately, that whether the doorman bows or the doorman laughs, it doesn't change a single thing about your internal reality. When you actually know who you are, the coat is clearly just a coat. You can put it on, you can take it off, but you never, ever mistake it for your soul.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final thought. It's a question to take with you into your week, into your next meeting, or even your next conversation with a stranger. What coat are you wearing right now that people bow to instead of you? And when the banquet is over, when the doors are closed, and you finally take that coat off, who is actually there? Thank you so much for joining me today, and until next time, remember to take off the coat.